On 12th of April 2007, the Bourbon Dolphin vessel capsized in the Atlantic Ocean whilst conducting anchor handling operations, killing 8 people. This video explains what went wrong. The Bourbon Dolphin was a Norwegian anchor handling tug supply vessel owned by Bourbon offshore Norway. The vessel was a relatively new vessel, having been constructed in Norway using the Ulstein A102 design in 2006. It was the vessel used to pull the German minehunter Gromit to sea again after she had run aground near Floro in February 2007. In April 2007, the oil company Chevron had contracted the vessel to conduct anchor handling operations for the Transocean Semisubmersible drilling rig in the Atlantic Ocean. The drilling rig was being moved to a position approximately 80 miles northwest of the Shetland Islands, in preparation for drilling operations on the Rosebank field. The weather in that part of the ocean can be brutal, impacting rig move operations enormously. A semi-submersible drilling rig is a mobile unit that floats in the water, with pontoons submerged below the surface and columns extending upwards above the water to support the main structure, including the drilling derrick. Older semi-sub rigs, like the Rava, are secured to the seabed using anchors, although modern semi-sub rigs use dynamic positioning thrusters to maintain their position. The rig is towed into position by tugboats and then secured in position by anchor chains, in the case of the Rava by 8 anchor chains. To deploy the anchors, the semi-sub rig lowers them into the water and the anchor handler tug picks up the anchor and runs it out into position. This can be some distance away, depending upon the water depth, and for the Rosebank field the anchors were laid 3,000 metres, or almost 2 miles, away from the drilling rig. On the day of the accident, 7 of the 8 anchor chains of the Transocean Rava had already been laid. The Bourbon Dolphin was attempting to lay the 8th and final chain number 2, but the weather was starting to worsen, making life difficult for the vessel. The Dolphin started taking out the final anchor chain, but a crosswind and waves started to affect the progress of the vessel, and at 1:45 it struggled to maintain heading and moved off course. It moved further and further away from the intended course, and by 2:30 was approaching anchor chain 3, which had already been set, in 7-metre high waves and 35 knot winds. It would be dangerous to cross the anchor chains, so another vessel, the Highland Valor, came in to help the Bourbon Dolphin. The Valor attempted to get hold of the anchor chain, but was unsuccessful, and at one point the vessels came perilously close to colliding. As the Bourbon Dolphin approached anchor chain 3, the vessel was instructed to keep away from anchor 3 by the towmaster on board the Rava. The anchor chain is held in place at the rear of the anchor handling vessel by towing pins. To improve manoeuvrability of the vessel and get away from anchor chain 3, the inner starboard towing pin at the rear of the vessel was lowered, and the chain moved across to the outer port towing pin. The eccentric loading on the vessel caused the Dolphin to list severely to port. It righted itself for a while, but at 5 the vessel capsized completely. The capsizing happened suddenly and without much warning. The Bourbon Dolphin had a core crew of 14 persons, but the master's 14-year-old son was also on board. Only 7 persons were saved from the vessel. Of those on the bridge, only one of the first officers managed to get out. The crew members who had been in the deck area managed to get hold of life jackets, climb onto the vessel's side and jump into the sea before she rolled right over. 2 persons who had been in the mess got themselves out onto deck and into the sea. Of the 8 fatalities, the bodies of 3 persons were recovered from the sea, but the remaining 5 persons are still missing. At one point, the Dolphin hull was floating towards the Transocean Rava on a collision course with the rig, so it had to be downmanned. However, the capsized vessel eventually sank 3 days later on 15th of April and remains 1,000 metres below the seabed to this day. Surprisingly, whilst the accident happened in UK waters, no criminal proceedings were taken in the United Kingdom against any of the companies involved in the accident. However, as the vessel was registered in Norway, a Norwegian Royal Commission was established to look at the accident, and a report was submitted to the Norwegian Ministry of Justice and the police. It established that the new captain, who had died with his 14-year-old son, had not been given enough time to learn about the crew and the ship. The Commission also raised doubts about the vessel and its capability of the crew to handle large anchors in such deep water, and Bourbon offshore Norway was eventually fined 5 million Norwegian kroner, which is around $475,000 US. And that concludes the sad tale of the Bourbon Dolphin. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and leave any comments on what you would like me to cover in future videos. Thank you for watching.